My girlfriend was raped, and I want to break up with her. I understand that I'll immediately come across as a terrible person and will get a lot of hate, but I need your opinion. This text will be long because I don't know what can be left out, and honestly, I need to get it off my chest. A year ago, more precisely, a year and 1 month ago, my girlfriend was assaulted when she was walking home from work. Luckily, she wasn't killed, but the attacker threatened her with a weapon. Fortunately, there were cameras in the store parking lot where she worked, and a bank camera across the street captured the attacker's car. Thanks to that, the police managed to arrest him the very next day. With the video evidence and DNA tests, he couldn't even lie and just confessed in exchange for avoiding the maximum sentence. Because of the circumstances, the judge gave him 20 years, with a possibility of early release for good behavior after about 10 years. I'm saying all this so it's clear. The attacker won't be a threat to her anymore, at least for 10 years. Obviously, this was an extremely traumatic event in her life. And although I wasn't the direct victim, it was also a huge blow for me. I can't even imagine what she had to go through, and I'm not comparing my situation to hers, but I fell into deep depression because I couldn't protect her, and the thought of someone hurting her was unbearable. Right after it happened, she didn't want to see me. I understood that. It hurt me, but I accepted it. Her parents took her from the hospital, and for a whole week I didn't hear from her. Logically, that made sense, but I still feel she could have at least sent me a short message saying she was okay. After a week, her sister called me and said she was living with her parents for now and would call me herself in a few days. But she never did. A few days later, her sister messaged me again saying my girlfriend wanted me to come over for a few minutes to talk. I went right away. Her mother met me, calm but cold, explaining how I should behave and what I should say. They also told me not to touch her. I understood. It was a severe trauma, and I assumed they had spoken to a psychologist about how to handle such situations, so I agreed. When I entered the room, she was sitting on the bed, her dad beside her, and her sister on the couch. As soon as I walked in, the sister started talking for her. She said my girlfriend wanted to know if I was okay, that she had gone through terrible trauma, and that she was grateful to me for understanding. My girlfriend herself didn't say a single word to me and barely looked at me. This was right after the incident, and I tried to be understanding, but honestly, the whole situation felt very unpleasant. I went home and tried to focus on how I could help her. I Googled how to support people who have gone through this and what to expect. She started seeing a psychologist, first twice a week, then after 2 months once a week. At that time, she finally contacted me herself and suggested meeting at a cafe. I went, and she was already sitting at the table, but she was so medicated that she looked like a zombie. No emotions, speaking mechanically. She wanted to meet to say that we couldn't be together until she worked through her inner world. Of course, I said I understood. By that point, almost a month had passed, and I was already living with that understanding. I told her I'd be there for her, and if she needed space, a shoulder to cry on, or anything at all, I'd be there. I started to say I loved her, but she interrupted me and said she didn't want to hear that for now and that I had to respect her wishes. That hurt me a little and, to be honest, surprised me, but I said I'd do as she asked. The next day she started texting me. Nothing special, just little things, but I took it as a step toward rebuilding our relationship. This went on for about a month and a half, and finally, I suggested meeting for breakfast. She didn't reply for 2 days, then said she needed to discuss it with her psychologist. In the end, she agreed, but scheduled the meeting a whole month later. By then, almost 4 months had passed since the attack. In all that time, we'd only had 2 conversations. One just between us and one awkward one with her parents. Another important thing. No one updated me about her condition. Of course, I understand. I'm not her husband, not family, and technically I have no right to know anything. But damn it, they could have sent me at least one message or made one call to tell me how she was doing, whether therapy was helping. We agreed to meet at a small cafe nearby. I arrived first and waited. After half an hour, I texted her asking where she was. She just replied, "On the way." Eventually, she arrived and sat down at the table. I asked her how she was doing, but she sharply told me not to ask personal questions. We ate, and after breakfast I just wanted to sit and talk because I missed her so much, the woman I used to talk to every single day for the last 3 years. But as soon as she finished eating, she immediately said she wanted to go home. I asked her to stay at least a few more minutes, but I could see she was starting to get nervous, and I didn't want to upset her even more, so I just told her I loved her and missed her. The next day, she started texting me again as if nothing had happened. We began meeting once a week for lunch, and she gradually became more relaxed, stayed longer, started talking, and even told me about her new job. This went on for another 4 months. I was happy to see her, but honestly, I felt very lonely because we didn't even hold hands. One time, she didn't even show up to our meeting. I texted her to check if everything was okay, but got no reply. I called her parents just to make sure she was safe. They tried to cover for her, and I started to get angry because I needed to know where she was and what she was doing. I just wanted to be sure she was okay. Eventually, her mom said she was fine, but that I shouldn't expect a response from her for a while. At that point, I felt like she had gone back to the hospital and relapsed. But what could I do? I just went home and tried not to think about it. 2 weeks passed, and nobody told me anything. I tried to stay calm, but eventually I called her sister and asked her to at least tell me if she was alive. She apologized but said that my girlfriend had specifically asked her not to say anything. That's when I burned out. I couldn't understand what I was doing wrong. I never pressured her or forced her into anything, I just wanted to talk, and all my conversations with her had been so careful not to hurt her. A few days later, I got a message from her asking to meet at some unfamiliar address. When I looked it up online, it turned out to be her psychologist's office. The meeting was scheduled for 4 p.m., so I had to leave work early to make it. When I arrived, the psychologist told me she wanted to talk to me first. She greeted me and listed a set of rules I had to follow and what I could say. Then she explained that my girlfriend wanted to talk to me in a safe environment. I went into the office. She was sitting on a chair, and there was a chair for me opposite her. Beside her was a box of tissues, and it was obvious she had been crying. The psychologist said my girlfriend wanted to tell me something important and only felt safe doing so here. Then she said that on the night she didn't come to our meeting, she had been with another guy, a coworker at her new job, and she slept with him. It felt like a knife to the heart. I just lowered my head and started crying. The psychologist said this wasn't cheating in the traditional sense, but an attempt to regain control over her sexuality after the trauma. My girlfriend started saying she didn't want to lose me, that her mind was a mess, and that it had been a mistake. I felt cornered, literally surrounded, and they were trying to convince me this was somehow normal. But the more I thought about it, the more anger I felt inside. Finally, I said, "You haven't even held my hand after everything that happened, yet you so easily went to bed with some coworker while I, like an idiot, was waiting for you on our date like a child." Of course, she started crying. The psychologist asked me to leave. I apologized and said if she wanted to discuss it, she should write to me. Later that same day, she did write, begging me to talk, saying it was the biggest mistake of her life. I told her I didn't know if I could continue the relationship, but agreed to meet. When we met, I immediately set a condition. If I was even to consider staying with her, she had to completely cut off contact with that guy. She replied that it was impossible because they worked together. Then I said that in that case, we couldn't have a future. But in the end, she decided to quit her job. I told my sister everything, and she explained that some women, after sexual assault, try to regain control through intimacy. But why she did that with someone else and not with me, I still don't understand. After she quit her job, we went back to our lunches. We met a few more times, and I told her I was tired of just having lunches and nothing more. Then she agreed to come over to my place to watch a movie. That's how it has continued up until tonight. Tonight she came over, and we watched 2 movies. During the second one, I tried to kiss her. Just a kiss, nothing more. She immediately pulled away like I was a cross and she was a vampire, and said she wasn't ready yet. Okay, I admit I'm not in the best shape emotionally right now, but I told her it's already been a year and a month, and in all that time I haven't once pressured her or forced her into anything. But just a few months ago, she voluntarily slept with another man, and I still haven't even held her hand. She immediately started crying, but this time I didn't apologize right away. I only apologized for never wanting to do anything against her will, But I also said honestly that I feel like I'm being taken for a fool. I was betrayed. I don't care what the psychologist calls it. It feels like betrayal to me. I feel like I've done everything to be an understanding and supportive boyfriend. I told her that honestly, I don't want her to text me until I decide what to do. I don't want to be unfair to her, but it's been a year already, and we haven't taken even a single step toward rebuilding what we had. And I can't imagine how much longer this will go on. And now, if you didn't already think I was a fool, you definitely will. I'm just exhausted from the lack of intimacy. I understood that right away, and for several months after what happened, I couldn't expect anything. But now it's been a year, and we don't even hold hands, let alone anything more. And honestly, the thought that after all this she was with someone else just kills me inside. I told her I'd think about everything and promised to talk to her next week, but right now I think our relationship is over. I love her, but I hate the man who ruined our lives. I know it's not her fault. I hate that I feel like the bad guy. But no matter what, if I stay, I'll stay angry. Angry at dinner, angry at everything. And even if tomorrow she came over and wanted intimacy, it would only be out of pity or desperation. But if I leave, then I'm punishing her for something she's not guilty of. Please, give me your opinion.